The Star Splitter by Robert Frost. You know, Orion always comes up sideways, throwing a leg up over our fence of mountains and looking in on me outside by lantern light with something I should have done by daylight and, indeed, after the ground is froze, should have done before it froze. And the gust throws a handful of waste leaves at my smoking lantern chimney to make fun of my way of doing things or fun of Orion's having caught me. Does a man I'd like to ask have no rights these forces are obliged to pay respect to? So, Brad McClellan, having mingled loose talk of heavenly stars and hugger-mugger farming till having failed at hugger-mugger farming, burnt his house down for the fire insurance, and spent the proceeds on a telescope to answer a lifelong curiosity about our place among the infinities. What do you need with one of those blamed things? I asked well beforehand. Don't you buy one? Don't call it blamed, he said. There's nothing more blameless in a sense of being less a weapon in our human fight, he said. If I want one, I'll sell my house to buy it. There where he moved the rocks to plow the ground and plowed between the rocks he could not move. Few farms changed hands in those days. So rather than spend years trying to sell his farm and then not selling, he burnt his house down for the fire insurance and bought a telescope with what it came to. Mean laughter went about the town that day to let him know we weren't the least imposed on. He could wait, we'd see to him later. But first thing next morning, we reflected that if we counted out everyone for his least sin, it wouldn't take long before we'd have no one to live with. For to be social is to be forgiven. Our thief, the one who does our stealing from us, we did not cut out from church supper. What we miss, we go to him, he promptly returns it, if not uneaten, if uneaten and unworn out and undisposed of. It wouldn't do to be too hard on Brad about his telescope, for being past the age of being given his Christmas gift, he had to take the best way he knew to see himself in one. All we said was it took a strange thing to be roguish over. Some sentiment was lost on the house. A good old timer dating back along, but a house isn't sentient. A house has no feelings. And if it does, why not consider it a sacrifice, and an old-fashioned sacrifice by fire instead of a new-fashioned one by auction? So out of a farm, thus out of a house, with one stroke of a match, Brad had to take a turn to earn a living on the Concord line as under-ticket agent at a train station where his job was when it wasn't setting up, out and up and down track. Not plants as on a farm, but planets, heavenly stars that varied in their hue from red to green. He bought a good glass for $600 and often bid me come take a look up the brass barrel, velvet black inside it, a star quaking in the other end. I recollect the night of broken clouds and snow that melted down to ice and melted further in the wind to mud. Bradford and I had out the telescope and we spread our two legs the way we spread its three, pointed our thoughts the way we pointed it, and standing there at our leisure, said some of the best things we ever said. Yes, we christened that telescope star splitter, because it didn't do a thing but split a star in two or three, the way you split a globule in your hand with one stroke of your finger. It's a star splitter, if ever there was one, and ought to be of some good if splitting stars, same thing to be compared with splitting wood. We looked and we looked, and after all, where are we? Do we know any better where we are and how it stands between the night tonight and a man with a smoking lantern chimney? How different from the way it ever stood. Robert Frost.